If you've been cutting back on salt and your blood pressure readings are still all over the place, that frustration makes complete sense. Because for years, most of us were told the same thing: eat less salt and your blood pressure will follow. So you put down the shaker, you check labels, you skip the chips. And still, the numbers don't cooperate the way you expected. Here's what most blood pressure advice leaves out. Removing salt matters, but it's only half the picture. The bigger issue for many older adults isn't just what they're cutting, it's what they're not adding. And that missing piece is what this video is about. Your body doesn't just need less of something harmful. It needs more of several things that actively help it regulate pressure in the first place. And when those things are consistently absent from the daily routine, even a low-sodium diet can fall short. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because the picture you were given was incomplete. What we're going to walk through today is the food pattern side of blood pressure support. Not a dramatic overhaul, not a list of superfoods to chase, just the everyday food groups, the common gaps, and the realistic swaps that may actually make a difference, especially for adults who are over 55 and trying to do this through ordinary meals. Let's start with the piece that surprises most people. When blood pressure rises, one of the things happening in the body is a disruption in balance. Specifically, the balance between sodium and potassium. Most people have heard of sodium. Fewer people talk about potassium. But potassium plays a direct role in helping the blood vessels relax and in helping the kidneys manage fluid more efficiently. And here's the thing. Many older adults who are actively watching their sodium are still eating far too little potassium. Not because they don't care, but because the foods richest in potassium are often the first to disappear when someone shifts toward a convenient or lower effort routine. Think about what a typical day might look like. Canned soup for lunch, crackers and a little cheese as a snack, pasta with jarred sauce at dinner. None of it feels extreme, but that routine is quietly low in potassium, low in fiber, and leaning heavily on packaged ingredients, even the ones labeled heart healthy. The potassium-rich foods that may actually help the body balance pressure are the ones that take a little more intention. Sweet potatoes, bananas, white beans, leafy greens like spinach, avocado, plain yogurt, and cooked lentils. These aren't exotic. They're available in any grocery store, but they tend to get skipped when meal planning goes into autopilot. And that's not a personal failure, it's a pattern. A very common one, especially after 55, when cooking for one or two people can start to feel like more effort than it's worth. Now here's where it gets a little more interesting. That same convenient routine, the canned goods, the packaged staples, the grab-and-go options, tends to create two problems at once. It raises sodium, and it lowers potassium and fiber at the same time. So the gap isn't just about adding more salt than intended. It's about a daily pattern that nudges both sides of the equation in the wrong direction simultaneously. That's the hidden problem. And once you see it, the fix starts to feel more logical. Fiber is the other piece that doesn't get nearly enough attention in blood pressure conversations. Soluble fiber, the kind found in oats, beans, barley, apples, and pears, has been linked in research to modest but meaningful support for blood pressure regulation over time. It's not dramatic, but a bowl of oats in the morning and a handful of beans at lunch, done consistently, is not a small thing. Consistency is where the actual benefit lives. Now, two things people often think when they hear this kind of advice. The first is, I already eat less salt, so this probably doesn't apply to me. And if that's you, the honest answer is, it might still apply. Because salt reduction and food pattern improvement are two different things. You can be doing one without doing the other. Both matter. The second thought is, I'm already on blood pressure medication, so does food even make a difference? The answer, according to most of what the research supports, is yes. Food still matters. Medication and food work in different ways. One doesn't cancel the need for the other. And for many people, the right food pattern may help support what their treatment is already doing. This is absolutely worth discussing with a healthcare professional who knows your specific situation. So how does this look in practice? Let's make it simple. Breakfast is a natural place to start adding soluble fiber. Plain oatmeal with a banana checks two boxes at once. Oats for fiber, banana for potassium. That's not a dramatic health overhaul. That's breakfast. Lunch is where most people eat the most sodium without realizing it, because that's where the canned soups, deli options, and packaged convenience foods tend to show up. Even one swap, like a spinach salad with chickpeas and olive oil instead of a canned soup, is a meaningful shift. Not every day, but more days than not. Dinner is where potassium-rich produce can do the most work. A sweet potato instead of plain white rice. Lentil soup instead of packaged pasta. Roasted vegetables alongside whatever protein is already planned. These aren't sacrifices. They're just slightly better versions of what was already going to happen. Snacks are underrated in this conversation. Plain yogurt, a small handful of almonds, a piece of fruit. These consistently add potassium and fiber without adding processed sodium. And they replace the crackers and packaged snacks that often do the opposite. The pattern is, add more whole produce, more legumes, more fiber-rich grains. Reduce the reliance on packaged and canned items as staples rather than occasional choices. And check labels not just for sodium content, but for whether the food is offering anything useful in return. This doesn't have to happen overnight. A few intentional additions each week, done consistently over a month, can meaningfully shift the daily average in a more supportive direction. What you're building is a food pattern that works with the body's own pressure regulation systems, not just against one ingredient. That's a different kind of eating strategy. And for most people, it's more sustainable than restriction alone. The goal isn't perfection. It's a routine that has more of the right things in it more often. And that kind of routine is something most people can actually build, one meal at a time, without turning every grocery trip into a research project. Before we wrap up, take a moment to think about your own current pattern. Is potassium consistently showing up on your plate? Is fiber a daily habit or mostly occasional? Are packaged staples doing most of the heavy lifting in your week? Those are the honest questions worth sitting with, and possibly worth bringing to your next appointment. Blood pressure support through food isn't about eliminating everything you enjoy. It's about making sure the right things have a consistent seat at the table. If you've been working on your eating routine for blood pressure, whether you've cut something out or started adding something in, I'd love to hear what's actually made a difference for you. Drop it in the comments below. Your answer might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if this kind of practical health content is useful to you, subscribing means you'll see more of it, delivered in the same calm, no-pressure way. Take care of yourself. Small, consistent choices really do add up.